Good day, Manuel Nelia and my fellow classmate. This is the presentation of Group 3 about the coastal processes. Before we start in our topic, let's first define what is coastal processes. The movement of sediment within the coastal system is referred to as a coastal processes. Erosion, weathering, transportation, or the addition of new sediment can all be used to accomplish this. The coast, which constitute the land-water interface and may sound around 70% of the Earth's surface, is the site of a variety of geomorphic processes as well as a variety of landforms. For instance, the movement and dissipation of massive amounts of energy during waves and tides can result in a swift and dramatic changes to the topography in their coast. Wind, climate, waves, currents, and tides are some of the coastal and sea dynamics. These processes have impact on how sediment, salinity, and waterborne particles are distributed, which shapes the shoreline seabed and water quality in our marine life. Why are coastal processes important? Coastal processes shape the physical environment, providing habitats such as turtle or seabird nesting beaches, reef, and mangrove forests or seagrass beds. What are the effects of coastal processes? Environmental impacts from erosion include the destruction of animal habitats and aesthetic losses. Fishing industries that are dependent on coastal habitats can suffer great economic impacts from changes caused by coastal erosion, and the loss of tourism can result in similar repercussions. Now that I have told you the definition of coastal processes, my group mates here will tell you more about it. I guess I'm gonna see you in the end of this video. Have fun learning! Let us define what is tides. The motion of Earth, Moon, and Sun with respect to one another produce semi-diurnal tides along most of coast in which there are two lows and two highs approximately every 24 hours. Tides are higher than normal, known as spring tides, occur every 14 to 17 days when the sun and moon are aligned. Now, what are the effects of tides? Tides affect coastal regions in different ways. High tides push large amounts of water far up to on beaches and leave the sand and sediment mix with the water behind when the tides go out. Therefore, tides transpose sand and sediment and shape shorelines. Tides also feeds estuaries. What is the importance of tides? Tides are very important in controlling the depth and flow of water to help ships navigate easily near the shores. Using the advantage of water level and current of water during high tide, the ship can reach the harbor conveniently.
What is sea level rise and what causes of sea level rise? Sea level rise is an increase in the level of the world's ocean due to the effect of global warming. If you've been to a beach before, you've probably noticed a sort of line where the ocean water meets the land. Of course, the ocean water doesn't stay at the same level all the time. Waves and tides cause the level of the water to rise and lift all day long. But we can measure the height of ocean water many times a day and figure out the water's average or typical height. The average height of the ocean in a particular place is called the local sea level. But the ocean covers most of our planet, so it's way too big to measure with just a ruler. NASA measured the average of sea level of the whole ocean from space. This measurement is called the global sea level. People have been measuring local sea level at certain locations along the coast for hundreds of years, and NASA has been measuring the global sea level for almost 3 decades. Over this time, scientists have observed that the global sea level has been rising. The ocean is about 7 inches higher now than it was a century ago. Why? Because Earth is getting warmer. Glaciers and ice sheets are larger masses of the ice that sit on land. As our planet warms, this ice melts and flows in the ocean. More water in the ocean makes the sea level rise higher. But that's not the only way seas are rising. As Earth warms, the ocean is warming too. Water expands as it gets warmer, so warm water takes up more room in the ocean, making sea levels higher. Rising sea levels can have an impact on how we live, especially in communities near the coast. NASA and its partners use the JSON satellites to measure global sea level. It takes approximately 10 days for the satellites to complete the global measurement, and after they finish the one measurement, they start measuring all over again. By keeping an eye on Earth's oceans like this, we can measure how much sea level is rising and how quickly it is happening.
Storm surge is an abnormal rise of water generated by a storm, over and above the predicted astronomical tides. Storm surge occurs when the wind from tropical cyclones cause seawater levels to be as usual higher than high tide levels. It can go as high as 20 feet or more above the normal sea level. It is more likely to occur on coasts with gentle slopes than those with steep slopes.
The movement, the crust is caused by the origin of the tectonic plate, formed below that due to the formation and flow of the large-scale motion of the seven large-scale plates on the Earth, and is thus characterized by the model of the continental drift, and is believed as the Earth originated some 3.5 billion years ago. The formation of the terrestrial and the oceanic plate on the Earth dates back to the 1 billion years ago from today, when the interlocking of the slabs took place, driven by the process of the subduction process, and they led to the formation of the three zones and divided the boundaries, the basis of divergent, convergent, and the transform boundary. The driving force is the origin of the magma and the convection current from the mid-oceanic ridge and the core of the Earth, and thus the movement take place along the margins and formation of the newer crust formed below, along with the seafloor spreading that take place.
What is coastal erosion? Coastal erosion is the removal of material from the coast by waves, tidal currents, or the activities of humans causing the retreat of the coastline. And there are four processes in coastal erosion, which are corrosion, abrasion, hydraulic action, and attrition. What is corrosion? Corrosion is when destructive waves pick up beach material and hurl them at the base of a cliff. And the next one is abrasion. Abrasion occurs as breaking waves concentrated between the high and low water marks, which contain sand and larger fragments wear away the base of a cliff or headland. And the next one is hydraulic action. Inaction of Flamborough on the Holderness cause waves hitting the base of a cliff causes air to be compressed in cracks, joints, and falls in bedding planes, causing repeated changes in air pressure. As air rushes off the cliff, when the waves retreat, it leads to an explosive effect as pressure is released. In this process, it is known as hydraulic action. And the last one is attrition. Attrition is when waves cause rocks and pebbles to bump into each other and break up. And the last one is corrosion or solution. Corrosion or solution involves dissolution by the weak acids, such as when the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is dissolved into water, turning it into a weak carbonic acid.
What is sediment movement along coast? The movement is called longshore sediment transport, and its rate is depend on wave energy and the angle at which waves strike the coast. An angle around 30 degrees is being most effective. What is the movement of sediments called? Sediments move from one place to another through the process of erosion. What are five types of sediment? In order to define them, from the smallest size to the largest size, and it's clay, silt, sand, pebble, cobble, and powder. What is an example of sediment? Common sedimentary rocks include sandstone, limestone, and shale. These rocks often start as sediments carried in rivers and deposited in lakes and oceans.
So let's find out first what is deposition. Deposition is the geological process in which sediments, soil, and rocks are added to a landform or landmass. Deposition is likely to occur when waves entered an area of shallow water. Coastal deposition is a coastal process that involves the action of waves and how they can often deposit sediments such as sand, rock, and pebbles. Gravity and friction play a key role in the transport and deposition of these materials, as these are the driving forces that the waves experiences. An obvious example is where the Mississippi River flows into the Gulf of Mexico at New Orleans. What are the effects of coastal deposition? When they have deposited material on the beach, the energy in the wave is lost and much of water percolates in the beach material. Therefore, the backwash is weak. This means material will be left on the beach with a net accumulation.
What is a coastal land development? Coastal land development is defined as the human and dust change of the landscape within sight of the coastline. These include building structures that are on near the coast in a general for protection, commerce, communication, or recreation. These structures support economic and social activities that can contribute with positive and negative effect on the coastal environment. Activities that causes changes in coastal feature. A variety of sea organisms, including mollusks, sponges, and sea urchins, can destroy rocks by physically boring into them. Their effectiveness is influenced by rock types. Most sedimentary rocks are more susceptible than igneous rocks. For example, the relative importance of biological erosion is much greater along coasts characterized by low wave energies because abrasion and quarrying operate or moderate or by low intensities.
What is waste disposal? Waste disposal, also known as the collecting, processing, and depositing of human society's waste materials. Source and composition are used to categorize waste. Waste materials can be either liquid or solid in general, and depending on their constituent parts' impact on human health and the environment. They may be hazardous or inert. Solid hazardous and electronic waste are all commonly referred to as waste. Sewage is also referred to as wastewater. Here are some examples of waste disposal. Construction. These structures must be constructed safely away from the beaches. As a result, both the safety of buildings and coastlines. Strong foundations are also necessary for buildings to survive the coastal toughness to prevent them from deteriorating. Additionally, it is advised that the structures be elevated to prevent to directly affect the coastal soil and to safeguard them from coastal processes. If it's feasible, to shield the infrastructure and land from coastal erosion. Strengthening building envelopes should be taken into consideration. Turrets, walls, doors, and roofs are examples of building envelopes that divide an inner space from an exterior space.
Now that we have discussed everything about coastal processes and the importance of it, I hope that you have learned something from it also. Thank you for listening, and I guess I'm gonna see you on the next topic. See ya!